Hello, everyone. This is your teacher, educator, mental health professional, Jennifer McCrae, and I'm here today to talk to you about a series that I'm going to be an free educational series. You don't have to send me any kind of PayPal or Patreon or anything like this. Most of my stuff is educational. If it's really in depth, Patreon or whatever. But right now, these videos are little known. Some of them are known to black people, and it's called. Wait a minute. Portraits in Scientific Racism in African Americans. Portraits in Scientific Racism in African Americans. Okay? So basically we're going to talk about different experiments that were done on blacks over the century or the years or what have you. So I told you this. You don't have to. I do most of my stuff in education, and I do not. I don't charge patriarchs this or that. However, I would like, if you can, you to give me a GoFundMe on my GoFundMe page, and I give that to you later on. So these are the experiments that were done on black people. Okay, let me get my glasses. Okay, we talked about Sarah Bartman, what they call the Hottentot Venus, and also about Henrietta Lacks, who's the mother of modern medicine. Her cells were responsible for thousands of different diseases. Okay, and this is another one. Y'all may know somewhat of this study. People who are in health, allied health, mental health, they know about this. So we're going to talk about the syphilis, the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. Okay. Okie dokie. And they wrote a book on it. And the book is called Bad Blood. And they call it Bad Blood. I'm sorry. They call it Bad Blood because the okay, I'm sorry. They call it Bad Blood because they told the men that they had bad blood. They had what they really had was syphilis. Okay, and they would have bad blood like anemia or some type of blood disorder. They were telling that, and what they got is okay. You want to know who those people are? Okay, it started with the United States Public Health Service. They wanted to do a study. Okay, a very horrible, I've done studies myself. I've been a research associate. Unscientific as you can get study, and they wanted to go to a small little place, so they went to Macon, Georgia, Macon County, Alabama. So they wanted to see how the syphilis was how syphilis progresses, as a person get older or things like that. So they, like I said, they went to Macon County or Tuskegee, Alabama, and they were in partnership with Tuskegee Institute, and it's called Tuskegee University now, and also with some of the doctors. So they all agreed that they would not tell the people that they had syphilis. They would not treat the people for syphilis. Okay, they would tell them that they were just monitoring them for bad blood, and they would give them free meals, free medical care, all kind of enticements, because these were like poor sharecroppers, poor black sharecroppers, and they didn't have anything. So all those enticements that they and free burial insurance, all those enticements that they promised, I'm gonna call them PHS, public health services. It's too long. Okay, so they decided to go to a very poor place where black people were very uneducated, illiterate, and just, I work with rats and I work with humans in research and clinical trials. They treated these people worse than we treated rats when I used to do studies on rats. Okay, so basically they got 299 men who had syphilis, and 201 who was a control group who did not have syphilis. In research, you have the subjects, and those were the ones who had the syphilis, and that was the 299. And you also got to control that with the you got to use the uncontrolled. Oh damn! I'm sorry, y'all. And you also have to compare that with what is called a control group. That was 208 men who did not have any syphilis or anything like that. So, in science, you have to compare the experimental thing you're looking for with just people who don't have anything. So basically, that's what it was quasi. I'm gonna call it quasi because it was not very scientific. It was horrific. Quasi, okay, study, and it was kind of I don't know, y'all. Let me get my notes. Okay. Okay. So, and they also enlisted their own nurse. And you might probably saw this movie with Alfred Woodard called Miss Everett's Boys. She was the public health service nurse, and she saw what they did to their own people, to her own people, and she just followed orders, as the Germans say. She didn't try to stop it. She didn't try to do anything. Okay. So, those men signed up to public health, and I'm going to read what this says about one of the last survivors. It says, Charles Pollard, one of the last survivors, recalled that he heard that men were receiving free physicals at a local one-room schoolhouse. So I went over, and they took and they told me I had bad blood, Paula, remember? And that's what they've been telling me ever since. So they just call it bad blood. They came around from time to time and checked me over and said, Charlie, you've got bad blood. So basically what they did is they had intervals when they would come in a place where they would do the experiments, you know. They would do blood experiments, spinal taps, all kind of very painful experiments. Okay. So, we talked about the the free care and the barrier insurance. And also, we'll talk about the penicillin later. Okay, so nobody ever mentioned to him. If anybody did mention to him, they wouldn't know about syphilis because they were, poor and literary sharecroppers. So all they could tell them was bad blood. And he said they got different types of medicine. Sometimes a capsule, sometimes a little vial. So this went on. It's supposed to stop at the 6-month period, but these scientists just got ferocious and bad scientists. They decided to extend it for 40 years, from 1940 to 1972. They wanted to see what the progression was. When you first get the little chancre sores, and maybe about 15, 20 years, it gets latent. You don't get anything, kind of like AIDS. Okay, and HIV, and the tertiary period, which is the last period, you start getting horrible diseases. You start getting things like syphilis. Tuberculosis, syphilis. I'm trying to get on all this. Yeah, okay, tuberculosis, syphilis, and a whole range, and mental illness. Yeah. Blindness, mental illness, deafness, you get that. And somebody said, I digress, that Al Capone died of syphilis. He became mentally ill and died of syphilis. Okay. Here's some of the men right here. Okay, this is they're giving the men the shots, the tests, or whatever. I mean, they got them lined up like animals. Oh, and I wanted to tell you something else. Okay, I'm gonna read this. I found this interesting. Okay, we're gonna talk. I'm gonna talk about what syphilis is. It's a threat to public health and productivity. The disease is caused by a type of bacterial organism. It's a spirochete. It's called Treponema pallidum, or spirochete. I'm gonna call it spirochete. Okay, or T. pallidum. It can be acquired through sexual activity or congenitally from an infected mother. So you can get it from your mother congenitally. Let's see. In the initial stages of sexually transmitted syphilis, We talked about the chancre, the sores, and all that, and on the genitals and all that. We talked about the secondary stage and some of the diseases that's a result when you get to the end stages. We talked about bone decay, heart damage in the tertiary period, neurological damage, blindness, insanity, and death. Okay, because the 30 years or more can intervene with the onset of syphilis, and it could thought to be a separate mental disorder until the 1940s. So basically what they're saying there that they didn't equate the syphilis with the mental illness until 1940. Okay, so they had the antibiotics in 1940. Instead of giving the men the antibiotics, which is penicillin, which was discovered to cure syphilis. They just kept on doing their little studies like you do on rats, poking them and cutting on them and all kind of little things. They were just evil. Just this is one of the most evil studies. It's almost as evil. It's worse than the Joseph Mengele German Nazi studies. It's worse because it was long range and it was painful. Okay, so the test was called the Wasserman test, and that's the test that that told if you had syphilis or not. And it also said on here some of the men did not have sexual syphilis; they had congenital syphilis from their mothers. That's interesting. And it said when they did get the syphilis, or when it did show, when they weren't in the control group, and it did manifest itself, they just put them on over there with the people who had just the regular syphilis. Just awful. Just Frankensteinian. I don't know. Okay, they talked about another disease like syphilis. It says not all the men who were tested for syphilis via the Wasserman test really had the disease. Okay, the disease was notorious, non-specific, and men who suffered from the related illness, such as yaws, it's called yaws, okay, also tested positive. Because yaws is a common non-venereal infectious disease endemic to West Africa. It's caused by a subspecies of the same type of T. pallidum bacterium that caused syphilis. In 1932, yaws was prevalent in the South, especially among blacks. Not for racial reasons, but because it was embedded by conditions of poverty. People who were malnourished and exposed to the elements went shoeless and were prone to frequent injuries that broke the skin, the sort that cotton pickers experience daily. They were vulnerable to infections by pathogens that caused yaws. Unlike syphilis, yaws causes no long-term cardiovascular or neurological damage. Okay? So, I'm going to, let me see. Okay, it was just horrible. So, what was it? In the 1960s, a PR person for the public health service came across this study, and he tried to tell, different people in high places what kind of atrocities was going on with these black people, poor black people in Alabama, but they ignored him. So in the early 1970s, when he got nowhere, he took it public. He went to a scientific journalist named what's her name? Jean Heller. And Jean Heller being I think it was the Washington Post. It was a huge magazine, so the material was going to get out of there. So the material got out about how they treated these poor black men. And another thing, y'all, is that how can I say? What about their families? They still had. Most of them are married. They had wives. I think it say 40 of their wives got it. I'm trying to get that. Yeah, 40 of their wives got the syphilis from them. And also, I think they said 20 of their children got, they got theirs congenitally from their mother. But that's just, I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to some frequently asked questions. Okay. So the frequently asked questions, this is from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They didn't do anything either. They joined in. Yeah, it says, when was the study conducted? From 1932 to 1972, the U.S. Public Health Service conducted a study of the effects of untreated syphilis in black men in Macon County, Alabama. Where was the study conducted? The study was conducted in Macon County, Alabama, where Tuskegee is the county seat. And Tuskegee, they were involved in this too, unfortunately. How many participated in the study? We already talked about 399 men with the syphilis and 201 who didn't have the syphilis. And another thing people get confused about is that the scientists infected the men. No. The scientists did not infect the men. The men already had syphilis. They just wanted to see how it progressed in black men. And they thought that it progressed differently in black men than in white men. So they had shoddy their research methodology. I used to be at Harvard in clinical trials trying to think, and it just was unethical. Okay, we talked about that. When did the U.S. Health Service study at Tuskegee become unethical? The study became unethical in the 1940s when penicillin became recommended drug for treatment of syphilis and researchers, and not to its subject. That became unethical, medically unethical. Okay, these were doctors, nurses. What is the Hippocratic Oath? First, do no harm. They violated their own Hippocratic Oath, just being nosy, racist. I can't even come up with some words, so I'm at a loss right now. Okay, so it said, how did the revelations about the study change the way public research today. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, okay? Were women involved in the studies? No. It was limited to 20 men, young black men 25 years and older. However, it's the result of treatment. Some women contracted syphilis from men who participated in the study. We talked about that. No women were included in the study. Okay. I think that's all I got. Okay. The most important things, I'm sorry about doing this. That they came up with when I was doing clinical trials at Louisiana State University Medical Center. I was responsible for informed consent. This study made it like the Nuremberg, code in Germany, made it unethical to do studies without giving patients informed consent. Okay, let me explain that. Okay, in my case, when I was doing studies for anesthesiology and psychiatry, those are the studies that I did, clinical trials I did. You have to have informed consent. You have to be specific. It has to be on the patient's level. It has to tell every single thing, a phase of the experiment. Okay, like for instance, I was responsible for writing informed consent because a lot of the people that go to the public hospital, they're either semi-literate, illiterate, dyslexic, or whatever. So I was trained to write the informed consent at the 6th grade level. Therefore, everybody would be able to understand what is going on in the experiment, how it is being carried out. What are the adverse effects, side effects of the experiment? When will it end? Who will be involved? Everything. So that's what you do with an informed consent. It's got to be at the patient's level, and you have to explain it to them. Okay? I mean, thoroughly at their level. You just can't write a generic consent form and just give it to them. You can't do that. No. Okay. So another thing that I came upon when I was doing clinical trials were IRBs, institutional review boards. Okay, institutional review boards were it consists of people, doctors, lawyers, nurses, the whole spectrum of the community. Ministers, lay people, not just the doctors. So they had people from every field, in the community. And they had to approve it. They had to ask the questions, and they had to approve it. It's called an institutional review. Or you cannot do your study without those people, because it's a variety of people. They ask a variety of questions.